Hello, I'm Dr. Tom, and I'd like to welcome you to this Friday's update. And what a week it has been for the planet. Yes, this is unprecedented territory that each of us and all of us are in. You know, I was thinking, with all of the news and the press and the announcements and the things that happen on a not even a daily, not even an hourly, a minute by minute basis. And I was thinking, and here we are in gin, just ginning along. And I had this thought, well, what is ginning along? What is it? What is gin? And actually a gin in the use, in its one of the most common uses would be a cotton gin, which is a tool or a device that actually takes raw material, cotton, which we have so often heard from our very own Earlene Vining, the difficulty, the challenges of getting that cotton that we tend to think of in clothing, taking that cotton in its raw form, and then separating from the debris and the waste and the seeds, so that we end up with a product that is eventually produced that is some of the finest materials of the world. And I got to thinking, that is such an appropriate analogy for what happens in the global information network, which we often reduce down to an acronym of GIN. We're taking product, our product is people. People who may have been searching for something, people who bring their own debris, they bring their own story, they bring their own life. That debris, those foreign products can be very positive things as well. They come to us as seeds, and we attempt to plant those seeds and nourish those seeds and water those seeds and provide sunshine and enlightenment for those seeds so that they can become a finished product. Now that finished product is a journey. We're not finished yet. As a matter of fact, our training in gin is only at 7 levels, soon to be 8 levels, and there are ways in which you can accomplish that free. If you'll check on the website, it's going to 12. So we are in a process. We are in a process of growth inside the world of gin, and we keep ginning along. This coronavirus, it encompasses, it touches every part of the planet at this point. Whether the virus is in your town or your hometown or your area or arena, it's impacting you because it impacts virtually all aspects of life and will continue for a period of time. This is not the apocalypse. This is a coronavirus. There is a reaction which many people think, and it's not up to me to decide, please pay attention and do smart things. There is a reaction that's happening that is based upon sheer numbers. And let me just give you an example of that. And I am not an expert on infectious diseases. I am not an expert in the coronavirus. I am looking at solid information and numbers, and these numbers will change. These numbers are currently skewed because the people that are being tested the most are the most apt to be symptomatic, which means you're testing the sick population, an infected population, which skews the numbers to be bigger than they may be if we were able to test the entire population. But here's what we know, and here's what we know. Let me just give you an example of the United States. Let's call it 300 million people, and these are round numbers. Let's call it 300 million people, of which 80 to 90% can become infected and have very little change in your symptomatology. But it's the 10%. Let's just look at the 10% who become sick, who become symptomatic, who can become severely symptomatic. And there are different age groups which fall into these categories that have a more severe reaction. We were told originally it didn't impact children much. That seems to be a moving target, so please be safe with your children as well. But just from a raw numbers standpoint, if you took 10% of 300 million, it would be 30 million people. You simply cannot add 30 million people to our already taxed healthcare system. You can't put 30 million people in the hospital or in doctors' offices. So the plan, the strategy, if you will, is to spread that 30 million people response, and again, these are just round numbers based on what we know today. If you spread that out over a 2-month or 3-month or 4-month period of time, you have decreased that curve, which is a very common graph that goes like this, and then it has a spike. And so what we're attempting to do is to stop that spike or to spread that spike out over a longer period of time. The recommendations remain the same. Wash your hands. Don't be exposed to people. Self-quarantine. If you know someone or you've been exposed to someone who has tested positive for this, and the testing is so infinitesimal compared to what it will be and could be, self-quarantine. Don't gather in large numbers of people because there's a great chance that someone in that crowd has this virus. Just like it's smart to stay in smaller numbers. If you get sick at school or if you have the flu, stay home. This is a similar kind of recommendation. Wash your hands. Use some positive influence. Think positive thoughts. Take some vitamin C. Get out in sunshine. Exercise. Don't exercise in groups. This is a great time for you to reconnect with nature. Take a walk. Do some smart, intelligent, informed things. There's a difference in becoming informed about what's happening around us and how it's impacting your society and your job and your vocation and your industry, and becoming obsessed with it. I'm not a fan of spending 12 or 14 or 15 hours a day in front of the TV listening to the news. The slanted news, yes, different networks have a different take on things. There are different political agendas that will all play out. I'm just talking about just staying to the facts of the coronavirus and be smart. Make good choices. I was reading some information from an advisor, a person that I know who is knowledgeable about the immune system. And he had some very great recommendations about activities and things to do, like get outside in the sunshine, do some exercise. You see, boost your immune system. Begin to drink pure water. We've always recommended that. Begin to eat pure foods. Take less processed foods. Take foods that are not genetically modified. Take foods that are not sprayed. Take foods that are not have food additives to them. See, these are all things that are good for you, good for your immune system. You see, building your immune system is the very best thing that you can do personally for this virus. As a matter of fact, he says as well, take vitamin C. And we've had a record response. Thank you for those of you who have listened and begun to take more vitamin C. Whether you get that from us or you get that somewhere, get a good source of vitamin C. Eat some more oranges. Eat some foods that contain vitamin C. Be smart in this. And he actually added one that I hadn't thought about or considered connected to this to build your immune system, which was to add mushrooms. Because mushrooms, in their role in nature, is to take decaying product and put it back into the life cycle, which the things that happen, the purification that happens in your body is either filtered by the liver or by the kidneys or by the skin, which is why sweating and exercise is good for you. It gets those toxins out. And so are the mushrooms. And so I went on to his site and I was amazed because the very thing that he recommended, he had also discounted. Just like I told you about that we were doing with Juicy Berry. And I also saw that he was sold out at this point because there is a demand when you talk about logical things to build your immune system. So I'm recommending, we'll pass on the information on where to go get that when they have it on site again. There's no sense going there because they don't have it at this point. So we will pass on that information about what you can do to enhance your immune system. You see, we're actually, let me get to it in a moment. We're going to actually start something that will help you in this wellness category inside Gin that you'll get as an extra added bonus. You see, we keep adding things. When the world is constricting, we're expanding. We are showing you ways in which you can become healthier. And that will be the end result of this. There's always good that comes. We always teach this. It's part of your training. There are always golden nuggets that you will have access to from being a part of Gin. Use some common sense. Begin to start. You see, this is a perfect time for you to start new habits. And the challenge, so I was doing some research on habits. What does it take for people to get habits? I've mentioned this even last week, and I found another study. Some behavioral scientists have said, you see, we all have habits. You have a habit, you have habits, and you have ways in which you have activities that are ways in which you move through your day. We'll call them habits. From the way that you make your morning coffee. We'll just start with something simple, or your hot tea, or whatever your morning routine is. The morning is the area in which it is the easiest to change your habits, because you have more control of your morning. Once you start your day, once you go to work, no matter what you plan, maybe there's something comes up. Maybe your boss, or maybe you as a boss have employees that have things that come up, and so you have to shuffle your day. There are fewer variables for you in the work day than there are early in the morning and at night just before you go to bed. So those are the best times to begin to change your habits. And it was very good, and it says that the biggest challenge that most people have is that they try to take too big of a jump. They make these habits. For instance, they make a New Year's resolution. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to exercise 3 times a week. I'm going to spend an hour there each time. That is difficult for you. It is easier for you to start with what's referred to as tiny habits. And there's actually a book that was written called Tiny Habits. And I have been referred this book from 3 different completely unrelated sources this week. So it seemed like, sometimes when the universe taps me on the shoulder, knocks on my head, I don't hear it the first time. One of my habits is to pay closer attention to my gut, and to pay closer attention when these things come up. When something happens 3 times in a week and something I haven't heard of before, that's the universe telling me something about it. Its solution is, the best way to form these new habits is to tie it to an existing habit. Look at a pattern in your day and think, how can I add something to that which makes it a habit? You see, these tiny habits are doing little things, taking a short walk, not walking for an hour and a half. It's simply doing a mortar march, doing jumping jacks, doing a single yoga pose in a day will trigger for you, I like that, I get a response from that, I'm celebrating the win, I'm now going to do 2. You see, this is how you begin to change habits. I'm looking for taking a short walk, putting an apple in your lunch. Now many of you may be at home. When you're tempted to eat something, start a new habit. Working from home is different. It takes discipline. Be disciplined in the snacks that you eat. And the best way to be disciplined in the snacks that you eat is to make that decision when you're in the grocery store. Buy good snacks. Buy better snacks than you have been doing. You see, this whole opportunity is a way to reevaluate your lifestyle. It's a way to reevaluate your choices. It's a way to reevaluate your habits. That's the win that will come out of all of this. You see, in this particular aspect, it talks about doing something every day, and there is a timeline, and British researchers have studied this, that say this habit, to become a habit, ranged from 18 days to 254 days. The median in that was 66 days. So, like I said, it doesn't matter if people say it takes 21, 60, 90, it takes a period of time. The longer you do it, and the more emotionally attached you become to it, the better chance it is that it becomes a lifelong change from a habit standpoint. And make these things easy. Because the things that keep you from accomplishing a habit change, the things that distract you from that, they're referred to here as friction. The friction, this is the resistance, this is the chatter that I've referred to in our Club 712 training. It's the chatter, it's the resistance. The friction, in one study, researchers changed the timing. Listen to this. This is how simplistic it can be. They changed the timing from when you push the button on an elevator on how long the doors would stay open. And merely by moving that to a longer period of time, well, I'll give you the exact part of that. It said that they waited for nearly a half a minute, 30 seconds. Normally, the doors would close after 10 seconds. When taking that 10 second, by tripling it to 30 seconds, a mere half of a minute, it triggered for people, they would rather be in control and they'd rather walk on the stairs than they would wait an extra 20 seconds standing in an elevator with the doors open. This changed a habit. And interestingly enough, when they went back to allowing the elevators to close in 10 seconds, many people stayed with their habit and walked the stairs. You see, that's a perfect example of creating a healthy habit that you can do for a lifetime, and the number of steps, depending upon where your office is, and the number of steps it is that you're going down versus taking an elevator, extrapolated over weeks and months and years and your lifetime of work, becomes a huge number of exercise for you. It's about changing your habits. And it also said to reward yourself, and this is why I refer to celebrate the win. Some rewards are instantaneous. For instance, when you brush your teeth and you have a fresh minty breath, that's an immediate reward. Losing weight takes longer. Losing weight takes time. Losing weight takes different choices in not only what you put in for caloric intake, but are you going to exercise? How are you going to, losing weight there is a mathematical formula. It is, you must expend more calories than you consume. It's the only way to lose weight. So increase your metabolism by doing some exercise. Put better foods in there so your body doesn't have to retain fluid to dilute the toxic materials, so that your kidneys and your liver and your skin can begin to clean your systems. That's a delayed gratification. There is a win, but celebrate the win. This isn't why if you set a goal to lose 10 pounds, don't wait to celebrate until you lose 10 pounds. Celebrate on every half pound. Celebrate every day when you're making the choices that you're doing that will change your habits. Listen to some good material while you're exercising. Make a new habit. We recently had a call last week on our March Gladness call, and we've had a number of people respond and say thank you for that. They're beginning to make some changes in their lives. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read you one excerpt that comes that says that the tagline on it was the Gladness call, it worked. It was to Dr. Tom and to Blaine. I want to thank you for the great messages during the Gladness call. The whole call was very powerful, and I'd like to emphasize a certain lesson that I got. Indeed, Blaine sowed some seeds at the beginning of the call. You see, this is about seeding. This is about removing those seeds with the gin. The Dr. Tom then made grow. Washing your hands is something simple but powerful. And reintegrating consciousness in that gesture is a brilliant idea to suggest and integrate in that powerful period of time. I was so happy just to have to quote Dr. Tom to relay that brilliant message and invite some of my friends, listen to this, and invite some of my friends to readdress or to re-add consciousness into it and to think more about that while they're washing their hands. It's also a great time for humanity to wash their hands about the past and to accept and to forgive and so on, and wash their hands from each other to stop getting confused from their own inner truth. How often have you heard the phrase, I wash my hands of that? It's a great analogy. It comes from an upper level gen member, a level 7 gen member, a level 7 senior officer actually. And I didn't have time before this to ask permission to say the name, so let's just say that it's a level 7 senior officer from France, and she's very powerful. It's a powerful time indeed. France is getting so quiet, no planes in the sky, hardly any cars on the streets, less noise, more calm, peace and tranquility. You see, this is a time to reflect and to build your spiritual side. This is a time to make choices that move you in that direction. Let's keep moving forward and stay focused on the beauty we want to see and the beauty that we want to flourish now. Congrats again, and thank you. That's what makes those calls worthwhile. If you can just change a few lives who change a few lives. You see, the planting of the seeds in this case is you simply telling others about gin. You don't know how long those seeds will take to sprout. Sometimes seeds take years, sometimes it takes weeks, sometimes seeds begin to sprout almost instantly, and people get excited about joining us in the world of gin. And they learn from us that there are only so many kinds of stress that you can deal with. There are really only two kinds of stress in the world. There's the kind of stress you can do something about, in which case I would recommend you do something about that stress. And there are the kinds of stresses that you can't do anything about. As an example, you can't do anything about what government says today, right now, to do about this coronavirus. You're not going to change that. If they quarantine people, or if they say you can't go to Europe, you can't cross the border into Canada, that's something you might as well not stress about, because you can't do it. Unless that would be very challenging for you to accomplish these things. My point is, there's no sense stressing about that, because it's not something you can change. What you can change, the stresses that impact you that you can change, I'm going to recommend you stop stressing about them and change them. Just stop. It's by your definition. If it's something you can do something about, then take the action step to do something about it. This will all pass with time. Sure, there will be cultural changes that happen here, just like what happened after 9/11 and travel changed. There will be changes that will happen. I see those as opportunities. There are great opportunities right now in the financial world to refinance a house if you're in the United States. Rates are lower than ever. There are opportunities. There are great buys in the stock market. I'm not saying buy this, buy that. I'm telling you there are great companies who have actually been hammered by the coronavirus, the restrictions, the price of oil, world economic changes that have impacted things tremendously, which now makes them a buy. So there are opportunities for all of us. There are opportunities for all of us. As a matter of fact, I'd like to, in wrapping up today, I'd like to just tell you a couple of announcements about things. Number one, the Boyvens and their book review. There are 2 openings left in that class. If you want to do that, go to the events page. You can find out how to do that book review. I highly suggest and recommend that you do that. World-class people, world-class learning will take place there. I will tell you that we're going to begin the Sifu Stefan Power-Up series, and we've told you that will be on April 1st. We're doing everything we can, because the information is so pertinent, to get that even done ahead of that time. It will be for sure released by then. Our goal is to perform that more quickly. The Terrific Tuesdays started with Tom Ward, started this past Tuesday. Please, if you haven't listened to that, go on the site and listen to that. The Science of Personal Mastery course, we're going to release more of those for the upper levels. Each week we're adding more lessons into those upper levels. The level 3s and level 4s are going to be released this week and next week. This is amazing information that's happening. Please go online and listen to those. Go to the website and listen to those. The Member Development Series with Lee Kinney this week. It will change your life. Listen to these things. They all build. They're all so timely. They're all so appropriate for what's happening. And as a matter of fact, we're going to add, I told you, we continue to expand as the world is constricting and restricting. We're going to add Wellness Wednesdays. We're going to begin to add health tips for you, things that you can do that will be very timely at this point, and they will continue to be as we begin to interview and get information and insight from healthcare professionals. Information that is so important for you as members of the Global Information Network. I will tell you, in closing today, do something positive. Think some positive thoughts. There are no studies that say going negative and worry and fear enhance your health at all. However, there are many studies that talk about a positive mental attitude, about thinking good thoughts, about going for a walk, about beginning to exercise, about getting outside, get in the sunshine, get some sunshine on your face. Pick some flowers. I did this week. I went outside. It's been very rainy and kind of that gloomy feeling weather-wise here. And so I went outside and picked the daffodils. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of daffodils at my home and at Dr. Ted's home are in bloom. Some have started. Some of the different varieties are blooming now. I went out and picked a variety and brought them in just to brighten her day, which brightens my day. Stop and smell the roses. As was referred to in our comments from our French member, things are slowing down. That's what stop and smell the roses means. Take some time in your life, in your moment, in this moment in your life, to smell the roses. Be where you're at, boy. Be in the moment. Eat a piece of fruit. This is so simple. This is one of the things I teach in personal care, about making a change in the things that you eat. Rather than doing too much change at once, just start something very simplistic. Eat a piece of fruit. And the next time you eat a piece of fruit, give yourself a fist bump. Give yourself a high five. Give yourself a win. Because what you're actually experiencing when you eat that piece of fruit is the fulfillment of the destiny of a seed. You see, in order for that fruit to grow, it had to start as a seed. And it had to have the proper sunshine and the proper nourishment and the proper watering and the proper time for it to become a plant which would produce fruit, which you now can consume. The seeds were planted way before you had the opportunity to eat that piece of fruit. That seed is fulfilling its destiny by producing the fruit that you consumed. Are you fulfilling your destiny? Are you doing everything you can? Are you getting the proper nourishment? Are you listening to the proper material? Who do you listen to? Are you staying positive? Are you sharing that positive energy with others? Are you growing your energy ball? That's my question for you this week. Are you fulfilling your destiny? I'm Dr. Tom. I am so excited about next week. I look forward to reaching out to you then. Have a great week.